Hello survivors. I want to welcome you to the newly branded Stewie's Kitchen. First off, a big shout out to Erin Holland who made the picture. I really appreciate it. And secondly, I just want to let everyone know out there, just because I have a new picture, please do not expect any higher production values. I have no idea what I'm doing. And honestly, you're lucky I'm wearing pants right now. So let's kick this off. Grip it and rip it. Let's make some bagels. So the first thing we need to do for this recipe, get a small bowl, grab your yeast, forgot a spoon again, and we are going to put 120 grams of warm water into a bowl, and then we're going to add our sugar and our yeast. Let me just get it onto the right value. Unlike our no-knead bread, this requires a little bit more accuracy with numbers, but again, if you put a little bit too much water, anything like that, it'll all even out in the end. So we want 120 grams of water, zero it out, then we want a total of 6 grams of yeast. And then we want 18 grams of sugar. And now, I know someone who's watching this is going to be thinking, Stuart said sugar. I'm going to put tablespoons of this in. And the person whose name sort of rhymes with blue pen, do not do that. I will judge you. So we've added in our yeast. Let's add in our sugar. And we are putting in 18 grams. So what this is doing is basically with this packet yeast that we have, you're just giving the hot water to sort of wake it up and the sugar for it to start feeding on, just to start the yeast reaction that you're going to need when you actually put it in the flour and do all that bread science stuff we taught previously. Previously, after the first video, a lot of people were saying, Stuart, where do you get your yeast and flour in this, the darkest timeline? And my recommendation to you is go hit up any local bakeries you have, not the big chain ones like a Brumby's or a Baker's Delight or anything like that, but like a independent one. That's where I get my baker's flour. I buy them by 12 kilo bags now, and that's where I got this half kilo worth of yeast. Really good value, and generally you'll be able to buy some. So while our yeast is doing its thing, we are going to do all the other ingredients, which is flour and salt. So once again, always remember to zero out your scale after each ingredient. Just makes it again a bit more accurate. So we're going to do baker's flour again. If you don't have baker's flour, should have said this last time as well, just use normal plain flour. Like baker's flour is just normal flour, it's just a bit more glutinous. So we need 500 grams of the baking flour, or the baker's flour, or the plain flour. And then we need only 2 grams of the salt. So let me just do this. I've actually put a bit too much in this time, so I will take some out. Let me just get it. Spoon. I got 530, and I really don't want to have that amount, because this is, you need to hit a really nice level of moisture in this dough for it to both be handleable when you knead it out, but also for the taste factor. So if you're too high flour, you're going to get a bit more stodgy style of thing, and they're about 500. Next is the 2 grams of salt. And again, high quality ingredients, better tasting food. Cool, so give that a quick mix in. just so the salt is mixed through a little bit. And then just the moment. And then yeast probably has had enough time. If you want to give it a quick stir, I actually do not know why, but I've always been told never to use a metal spoon in these yeast mixtures. It's one of those things, that's what I was told, that's what I'm going to do. Who knows if it actually is right or not, but I'm sure someone will eventually tell me. So yeah, I've got a wooden chopstick, giving it a bit of a stir, and then we're going to pour this into the dry ingredients. I didn't actually give it a very good stir, so I'm going to just scrape out the remaining bits of the yeast mixture. So hopefully you have it all out. So once we do that, we're going to give it a quick stir. And then we are going to add some more water to turn this into more of a dough. The amount of water you need to add in at this stage really sort of depends on the environment you're in. So the humidity has an effect on dough. And so if you're in a more drier environment, you're going to need more water. More humid environment, you might need less. So what we're going to do with this one, we're going to start by adding in 90 mils of water. Give it a bit more of a stir, and then see if we need to add more or less. Well, we can't add less, add more. If you got to a point there where your dough was too watery, you can always add in a bit more flour, but it's just a give and take sort of thing at that stage. So zero out your scale, and I'm going to start by adding in 90 mils of water, like I said, and then I've made this recipe before, so I'm actually going to just do a straight 110, and then I'm going to judge from there. It is always easier to do the, ooh, that's far too much water. I should have been paying attention to my thing. It's always easier to do the water while stirring instead of while kneading, because when it's kneading, it's going to be in a much tighter ball, and to get the water through the substance, you're going to have to sort of knead through it. And it's something you can do, but it is a little bit easier to do it like I'm doing now. I put in about 160 mils, so I might need to add some more flour, but we'll see how we go. I might have gotten lucky and been okay. So what you do is you just mix it till you can't really mix it anymore. And then we're going to start doing a bit of kneading while in the bowl. The reason for that is if you look at the bottom, you see all that that just fine flour at the bottom. It's easy to knead that in while it's there, knead that into the mixture while it's in the bowl, because that's nowhere to go. And then we're going to flip it out onto a floured board and just do some kneading. Although I'm going to tell you something, guys, you really hope that I have figured out some production values, because it's going to take 10 minutes of kneading, and you sure as hell don't want to see me knead for 10 minutes. So I've done as much as I can with the spoon, and now we are going to head on to doing it with our hands. So clean hands isn't ideal, but you know what? You're the ones eating this, so if you want to do this with dirty hands, go right ahead. So all you're doing in here is just less of a kneading and more of just a general mixing. As you're going through this, you start feeling what your dough is like. Is it dry? Is it too moist? Mine, shockingly, is too moist, and I put in about 30 more mils of water than I wanted to. But we're going to be able to deal with that once we get to the kneading part, although, well, I did say that I'm going to put a bit of flour on straight away, just while I'm in this more controlled environment. All right, that feels a little bit better. And then I'm just gonna waste not going to get this out of the way. And then we are going to knead. So kneading is very simple. All you're going to be doing is at the start, you're just going to get it into a rough all connected shape. And then all you can see as I'm doing is I am just, with the heels of my hands, pushing the dough forward. And what you're really looking for here is to see the elasticity of the dough. If it is too dry, you're going to see it rip, and like that is some of the sort of ripping I'm talking about. That means, yeah, it is too dry and you need to add a bit more water into your dough. If your dough is exceptionally sticky, like we're talking the sticky from the no knead stuff, then you are going to need to add more flour. It's a pretty easy problem to solve. You're just going to need to slowly dial it in. And to start with, less is more, because like you saw when I added far too much water, you can't take it out. So I'm going to knead this for 10 minutes, and I'm going to talk to myself while I do it, because I have no idea if I can cut this, so you might be stuck with me just kneading. All right, welcome back. 10 minutes of kneading has passed. Another drink of beer is happening, and what you should end up with is a nice, firm yet bouncy, I guess is the best way to put it. So, you know, it is taking the indents of my fingers as I push it, but it does have a bit of spring to it. Dry, not sticky, so it's not sticking to the board and leaving behind any of the dough behind. Leaving the dough behind, very good, Stuart. And so what we're going to do now is, like everything you need to do with any bread-based recipe or dough-based recipe, is let it rest. So you're going to grab another bowl. You are going to drizzle with oil. Actually, let me get some. Just a little bit. So again, I actually don't know why you do this. It's always been told to do it, so I'm doing it. Put oil in the bowl. Shape this into a nice little ball. Your beautiful, beautiful dough, son or daughter. And put it into the bowl. You're going to cover it with the tea towel, or do the bowl technique I did last video, and leave it for an hour. So thank you. I'll catch you in an hour and we'll move on to the next step. Hello everyone, it's been an hour, and so let's move on to the next stage of making our bagels. So your dough should have risen and look something like this. The next step is we want to divide this into relatively even balls, so we can turn them into bagels and then boil and then bake them. So depending on how accurate you want to be with this, you can just grab this out and cut up into roughly 8 things, or you can do what I'm about to do, because the whole the whole computer engineer style thing, I want to be vaguely accurate, well, more than vaguely accurate. So I am going to take out my dough and just hold it for a minute. Zero my bowl to be, so it is not included in the weight measurement. Put it back in, and I am going to be at 100 grams per bagel. So grab it out and just divide. I'll use this as my measuring thing, and that is 100. And so what we're going to do now is just get rid of the knife and cutting boards. We're going to put a little bit of flour down just to make sure nothing sticks, and then we're going to roll these into balls. Because this is now should be nice and airy because of the rising process, it should happen relatively easy, but if not, just roll it in your hand until you get mostly merged thing. If you're finding that it is a bit lumpy like this one, I find if you generally just apply a bit of heat to it, you should be able to then sculpt it into a ball pretty easy. And then you'll get something that looks roughly like that. And do this 8 times. And then after we have the all 8 done, we are going to add the holes to them. It's a lot easier than it sounds. All we're gonna do is put a finger through and then shape them out into little donut shapes. Okay, so we now have our 8 bagel balls. The next step is, like I said, to add the hole. So adding the hole is pretty easy. All you need to do is get some flour, get your finger, put it in the flour, and then put it in the hole, like so. You'll get to the point that you get all the way through, and then you have a little hole in there, but this is going to, with the rising in the water and then the oven, that won't be there. So you need to just slowly make this hole bigger and make it to be roughly the size, like a third of the size. So something like that. You're going to do this to all 8 and just put it aside. Okay, so we now have got 8 lovely sculpted bagel rings. And now what we're going to do is we're going to let this settle for about 10 minutes. So cover up with the same tea towel you had before, and we're going to let it settle for, like I said, 10 minutes. While it's settling, you want to get a large pot, largest we got, but if it's a smaller pot, it just means you're going to have to do one at a time, or however many you can fit. But I'm going to use this pot, large pot, fill it with oil and bring it to the boil. And while it's boiling, you also want to turn on your oven to, let me just quickly check. Yeah, turn on your oven to 220 degrees Celsius. I got in trouble last time for not indicating Celsius or Fahrenheit, so there you go, 220 degrees Celsius. So I will see you in 10 minutes with a warmed up oven and some boiling water. All right, catch you in a bit. Hey, so we're being 10 minutes. I've got some water boiling just there, and we're going to move on to the next stage, which is boiling our bagels. So what you want to do is you want to get a slotted spoon like this, and then we're going to turn down our boil to be, or heat to just be on a low setting. And what we're going to do is we are going to put bagel on the spoon, and then we're just going to plop it in the water. I can put 4 bagels in this pot, so I'm just going to do that. And we are going to leave them boiling for a minute. And so put up the temperature again, probably about to a mid sort of level. So we're going to leave them boiling for a minute, use the slotted spoon again to flip them, and boil for another minute. With your bagels, if you like them a bit chewier, just leave them boiling for a little bit longer, so about 2 minutes each side. While they are boiling, we're just going to grab some baking paper, grab the baking tray we're going to put in the oven, and just put it down so we can move our boiled bagels onto this tray. So it's been about a minute, so we're then going to grab our slotted spoon and just gently flip these over. Since they're now boiling, it's going to be a little bit stickier than they have been, so just be careful that it doesn't stick to your slotted spoon. Then we leave it boiling again for a minute. So it's been in a minute each side now, so what we're going to do, grab our slotted spoon, flip them back over to be the right side up, grab one at a time, shake off the excess water, and then bring it to your baking paper. And we're going to do that for all 4. And if we compare these to one of the unbaked ones, you'll see that apart from steaming up the camera, this is quite a bit rounder and bigger. So what we're going to do now is do the next batch. So like I said, depending on how many you can fit in your boiling water, it just depends on how many batches you're going to do. There's no rush to do anything with these after they've been boiled. They can keep for a while till you do the baking step. So as I was saying before, if you wanted to put anything on to top your bagels, like poppy seeds, sesame seeds, that sort of thing, now's the time to do it. Just before, after the boil, but just before you bake it, put it in. I'm going to keep my bagels plain. That's the way I like them, so won't put anything on. So now we just wait for the next batch to be done. Okay, so my last batch is done. I'm going to grab them and put them on the baking paper. Once again, remember to shake off any excess water. You don't want to burn yourself with boiling water. Trust me, it hurts. These will expand a little bit more in the oven, so you just want to be careful not to butt them up too close to the baking paper. I'm lucky that I have quite a large tray. If you need to, split against multiple trays or cook them in batches, that's also fine. Remember to turn off the heat, and we move on to the next step, which is the bake. We're going to put these in our preheated 220 degrees Celsius oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Again, this just depends on how your oven is. So I know with mine, it will probably be about 25. All right, I'll catch you in 25 minutes for the glorious reveal of these delicious, delicious bagels. See you then. Hello everyone, another 25 minutes passed, so the bake is done and we're ready for the reveal. So let's get out our bagels and see how they came up. That's a little bit hot, so let me just transfer them to the cooling rack and go from there. So, just we now have 8 beautifully golden bagels ready to eat. Since this is all preservative free, they don't keep for very long. So if you're in a house with not many people going to be eating them, like I am, what I do is I will leave a couple out and then freeze the rest. When you want to have them, microwave them for about 20 seconds and then they're good to be toasted. If you want to have them fresh, microwave them a little bit more. All right, this has been Stewie's Kitchen, Bagel Edition. Best of luck everyone out there with surviving the darkest timeline. And I hope you enjoy getting fat with me during this pandemic. All right, catch ya.